Well, it's a cloudy day this morning at the, as my friends like to call my place, Animal Auschwitz. And why do they call it that? Well, there's always death at Animal Auschwitz. See that there? That's a young pigeon that didn't make it. So there's always death here. Anyway, this is my pigeon loft with some of my pigeons. This one here is called an Afghan Shirazi. They sell for $250 a pair, and I was wondering why people were buying them like crazy for $10 a piece. I had no idea. There's just as many breeds of pigeons practically as there are dogs. People are unaware of that. It's also the first domesticated bird. They figure these things might have been domesticated before dogs, and that was about 10,000 years ago. A lot of human history wound up in this bird. Wars were won and lost because of them. They fed countless generations of people. The Romans depended on them for a protein source in the winter months. So a lot of human history with these creatures, and people don't understand it. All they do is see the ones that are on the streets in Chicago and or any major city in the world, and think they're flying rats. But they are anything but. They actually can be very selective in what they eat, but they can eat just about anything. But given the choice, they're extremely selective about what they eat. And it's strictly, usually just seeds, hard seeds. They swallow it whole. There's no cracking of seeds involved like so many other birds. They're wonderful parents. They're monogamous for the most part. They stay pair bonded their entire lives for the most part. This pair here is a saddleback homers. Are my favorite. That's a pair of them right there. They are really stunning to look at. I just never get tired of looking at them. So here we have some that are babies. This one here is a young bird that just left the nest about a week ago. You couldn't tell because it's the same size as the adults, and that's how it is with pigeons. And most birds, when they leave the nest, they're the same size as their parents. This guy there, I call him Casanova. He's the one pigeon I have that managed to take mates from other birds, break up couples, and somehow or another, that guy manages to keep two separate females and raise two sets of babies at the same time. I don't know how he does it. He's the only bird that I know that can do this. Everybody else, forget it. Oh, Casanova. He's an interesting character. He's one of my oldest birds. He's about 5 or 6 years old at this point. I guess he's not particularly pretty to some people, but he's the only brown one that I've really kept. And this guy, one of my favorites. Look how big he is. He's just a cool guy. It's called a blue and white Afghan Shirazi. But pigeons are wonderful birds. It's a shame more people don't keep them. Right now, racing pigeons is still a big thing, and a big part in most of the world. Right now, particularly in China, where some of these birds will sell it for tens of thousands of dollars, just like a racehorse. And that's okay. And the people that keep the sport alive in this country are immigrants. Eastern Europeans, some of the Arabs, and some people from Latin America, where the sport is still popular. Colors like this are not generally wanted in racing because the first birds that get picked off by hawks are the light colored birds. But there's just as many breeds practically as there are dogs. Darwin used them as examples of selected breeding to bolster his theory of evolution, and Darwin kept pigeons. Yes, a lot of history with pigeons. They're wonderful to have. They could tolerate any kind of climate you give them, as long as you give them shelter, food and water. And I do let these guys out sometimes, not all the time, because these are the ones that I don't want to see get eaten. I have birds that I let out every day that I could tolerate losing, but the ones I keep in here I can't tolerate losing because I don't want to lose these guys. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame more people don't keep them. It's just bad. Too bad. And you can hear all my purple martins in the background doing what purple martins do. Chatter away. Chatter away. They got houses set up, bird houses set up for just about every cavity nesting species in my area. This one here is a flicker box, but I'm hoping a pair of great crested flycatchers take notice of it, because there's a pair that had been snooping around here. There's my Gilberts and bluebird boxes. I got several of those up. I got some out there. And most of them are occupied by tree swallows. And the martins are busy building nests and just chattering away today. Even on a cool day like today. Nothing quite like purple martins. So let's go and see what the pigeons are doing in my expendable loft. This was just a tool shed at one time, and I just put extra birds in here. And well, as you can see, nothing too exciting color-wise here. I've discovered that these are the birds that survive the attacks of predators better than anybody else. So, down there on the bottom is a rabbit that I stole from somebody. Yes, I stole that rabbit for somebody. And they knew I stole it. It was just the price that they were going to pay for having kids that neglected it. And in comes Sophie. Sophie. Come on, let's get out of here. Come on. Good girl. Anyway, yeah, so that's the tour of the pigeons. That's the flap I let them down with so they can go out and fly and attract every hawk within 50 miles. And, you know, here's the sparrow trap. It's working quite well. Lots of house sparrows in there that keep luring their brethren to their doom, which is exactly what you want if you want to have a lot of wonderful native cavity nesting birds on your property. Get rid of the house sparrows, get rid of the starlings, and you will be surprised what starts to show back up. Well, my lovely shed of death, as my friends call it. Till next time, we're out of here from Animal Auschwitz.